Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Faiz Destara. I'm from class 2023B with my student number 230508606 Universitas Mulawarman. So here I'm going to present about the strategies and learning media to overcome EFL learners' difficulties in English phonology and phonetics. So here's the group member who compiled the material, the strategies, the learning media. Then we move to the introduction. So, EFL learners' difficulties in English phonology and phonetics based on the article we found, analysis of EFL students' difficulties in learning English phonology and phonetics. So, the article examines EFL students at Victory's University of Sorong and finds that learners struggle with basic concepts, IPA symbols, sound discrimination, and applying theory to real communication. These problems are caused by L1 interference or a native language interference, limited exposure to authentic English, cognitive constraints, and pronunciation anxiety. Therefore, effective strategies and appropriate learning media are needed to support pronunciation learning and improve learners' phonology and phonetic skills. So here's the learning difficulties identified in the article we found. Based on the article, EFL learners experience several types difficulties in learning English phonology and phonetics. These difficulties affect their pronunciation, listening comprehension, and ability to communicate effectively in English. The first is conceptual difficulties. Many learners experience difficulties in understanding basic concepts of uh, English phonology, and phonetics. One common problem is confusion between phonemes and allophones. Phonemes and allophones. Learners often find it difficult to understand which sounds can change word meaning and which sounds are only variations of the same sound. For example, learners may not realize that aspirated and unaspirated sounds can belong to the same phoneme in English. Another major difficulty in understanding and using international phonetics alphabet or IPA symbols. Many students are unfamiliar with IPA symbols and struggle to connect these symbols to real English sounds. As a result, phonetics transcription becomes confusing and difficult. Learners also have trouble distinguishing English vowel length and consonant contrasts, such as short and long vowels or voice and voiceless consonants. These contrasts are often not found in their first language or native language, which makes them harder to understand and remember. And then the second is listening difficulties. Listening is one of the most challenging skills for EFL learners in phonology and phonetics. Learners often have difficulty in distinguishing similar English sound, especially sounds that are very close acoustically, like ship and sheep, she and see, pat and bat. In addition, learners struggle with stress, rhythm, and intonation. English is a stress time language, and incorrect stress placement can affect meaning and clarity. Learners from syllable time languages often find English rhythm unnatural and difficult to follow. Another listening difficulties is understanding fast and connected speech. In natural communication, English sounds are often reduced, linked, or changed, which makes spoken English difficult to recognize even when learners know the word. Then we move out to the third difficulties is production difficulties. Learners also face serious difficulties in producing English sounds correctly. Many English sounds do not exist in learners' first language, which leads to inaccurate pronunciation. A common example is the difficulty pronouncing the th, as in think and this. Learners often replace these sounds with more familiar sounds from their first language, like this, thing. Pronunciation errors are also caused by English spelling pronunciation inconsistency. Learners may pronounce words based on spelling rather than sound, resulting in incorrect pronunciation, especially with silent letters and irregular spellings. Furthermore, first language pronunciation patterns strongly influence how learners speak English. Learners often transfer their native sound patterns into English, which affect clarity and intelligibility. And then the final difficulties identified is difficulty applying theory to practice. Another important difficulty identified in the article is the gap between theory and practice. Learners may understand phonology and phonetics concepts in class but struggle to apply them in real communication. Students are often able to pronounce sounds correctly during drills or control exercises. However, in spontaneous speech or real conversation, they return to incorrect pronunciation patterns influenced by their first language. This difficulty shows that learners need more practical activities and learning media that help them to apply phonological knowledge in real life communication, not only in the theoretical exercises. So here we move out to the strategies to solve learner difficulties. So based on the difficulties identified before, several teaching strategies can be applied to help EFL learners improve their phonology and phonetic skills. Each strategy is supported by practical classroom example. Like the first one is explicit phonetics instruction. So explicit here helps learner understand how English sounds are physically produced. Teachers explain the position of the tongue, lips, and teeth, as well as airflow and voicing. Like example, teaching about the word, the symbols, the sounds the. Teacher shows the mouth diagram and explain the tongue is placed between the teeth, and then the students will practice pronunciation it in the mirror. And then the second is IPA based learning strategies. So here it helps learner connect sound with phonetic symbols. IPA symbols are introduced step by step and grouped into consonants, vowels, and diphthongs. Like the example is when teacher introduced the symbol E and E, student listen to repeat ship and sheep. Then student practice writing some simple IPA transcription for words and short sentences. And then the third is minimal pair strategies. So minimal pairs help learners notice sound contrasts that change meaning. So this strategy focuses on both listening and pronunciation practice. Like example, students listen to the audio recording of pat and bad. So they choose the word they hear and repeat both words. And then the fourth is phonological awareness training. So it so this training develops learners' ability to recognize and manipulate English sounds including phonemes, syllables, and stress patterns. And then the fifth one is listening exposure strategies. Listening exposure strategy help learners become familiar with natural English pronunciation. Learners listen to native speaker audio and video materials with gradual speed adjustment. Like example is like student watch a short of BBC learning English video and then they'll listen to it for the general meaning. And then they will listen again and try to pronounce it, training it. And then the sixth is super segmental training. So it focuses on stress, rhythm, and intonation, which are very essential for intelligible and natural speech. Like example is the teacher models a statements and a question, you are coming and you're coming. Students repeat and practice the intonation patterns in pairs. Songs or chants are used to practice English rhythm. And then the seventh is shadowing techniques. So, shadowing techniques requires learners to repeat speech immediately after hearing it. This strategy improves pronunciation, rhythm, and fluency at the same time. Like the student listen to a short sentence spoken by a native speaker and repeat it immediately without pausing. For example, I didn't mean to say that. And the activity focuses on speed and natural pronunciation. And then the eighth is communicative practice strategy. So pronunciation practice is most effective when used in a meaningful communication. Learners apply pronunciation skills in real life speaking situation. Like example is like students role play ordering food in a cafe. They focus on clear pronunciation while communicating naturally. Feedback is given after the activity, not during speaking. And then the last one, the ninth, is anxiety reduction strategy. Reducing pronunciation anxiety helps learners practice more confidently. A supportive learning environment encourages participation. Like, for example, students practice speaking in small groups. Peer feedback is given positively before correction. The teacher emphasizes intelligibility rather than perfect pronunciation. And here's the tutorial learning media for phonology and phonetics. The first tutorial is learning media. The first is IPA plus pronunciation video. So this learning media combines IPA symbols with native speaker pronunciation videos to help learners connect symbols with real sound. How to use it? The teacher displays IPA symbols on the screen such as E, E, th, the, something like that. Sorry for the pronunciation. And a pronunciation video is played to model the correct sound. And then students listen carefully and repeated the sound together. Students then record their own pronunciation to compare their model with the model. So the media helps learners improve pronunciation accuracy and IP understanding at the same time. Here's the suggested YouTube channel like Rachel's English. It focuses on articulation and mouth position. And then BBC Learning English, clear pronunciation and listening practice. And then English with James, simple explanation of IPA and sounds. And here's the example video of this.
This is a voiceless consonant. It's pronounced f. Now, did you notice that I make the sound by sticking my tongue out just a little bit f, and blowing air between my tongue and my top teeth? F. Now you try. Watch and listen. F. Again. F. You can hear the sound at the beginning of the words thin, throw, and thumb, in the middle of the words author and healthy, and at the end of the words birth and path. Now you try. Listen and repeat after me. Thin, throw, thumb, author, healthy, birth, path. Good.
And then the second learning media is minimal pair interactive practice. So this media is used to improve learners' ability to distinguish and produce similar English sounds that cause meaning differences. How to use? Learners listen to audio containing minimal pairs such as ship, sheep, or pet bed. Learners choose the correct word based on what they hear, and then after listening, learners repeat the words and use them in short sentences. These activities strengthens both listening discrimination and pronunciation awareness. The tools are you can use the PowerPoint for audio slides and repetition drills, and then WordWall interactive listening games, and then Google Form. It is in audio based quizzes. And then the third learning media is articulatory visual media. Articulatory visual media help learners see how English sounds are physically produced. How to use it? The teacher shows diagrams or videos of mouth and tongue position. The video is paused to explain articulations such as tongue placement or airflow. Learners practice producing the sound while looking at the mirror. So this media is especially effective for difficult sounds like th, e, or you can see the example over there. And then we move out to the fourth. learning media, and it's shadowing and recording media. This media focuses on improving pronunciation, rhythm, and intonation through imitation of native speech. How to use? Learners listen to short native speaker audio or video clips, and the learners repeat immediately after the speaker without pausing. Shadowing. Learners record their voice and listen to their own pronunciation. Self-evaluation or teacher feedback is given after recording. So this media helps learners apply phonological knowledge in natural speech. So here's the tool to you can use to for learning media for. It's smartphone voice recorder to record, and then Google Classroom or WhatsApp for submission to the teacher. And then the fifth learning media is stress and intonation media. So this media focuses on supersegmental features that affect meaning and naturalness in English. So how to use it? Uh, we do short dialogues or sentence are shown on the screen. Stress syllables are marked visually using bold or maybe color. And then learners practice rising and falling intonation patterns. And then do a pair practice is used to reinforce natural speech rhythm. So this media helps learners improve clarity, fluency, and communicative effectiveness. So and then we move to the integration of strategy and learning media. So the strategies discussed are applied through learning media to help learners practice phonology and phonetics more effectively. Learning media such as IPA videos, minimal pair activities, shadowing recordings, and stress practice help learners connect theory with real pronunciation use. Through these media, learners can practice independently, receive feedback, and improve both accuracy and confidence. And then for the conclusion is EFL learners face various difficulties in learning English phonology and phonetics, including pronunciation, listening, and applying theory to real communication. These difficulties can be addressed through multiple teaching strategies supported by appropriate learning media. By combining clear instruction, practical activities, and supportive learning tools, pronunciation learning become more effective, engaging, and less stressful for learners. Alright, that's all from me. Forgive me if I'm making a mistake in pronunciation and if I have a mistake in the material for the learning media and then surges. I'm very sorry. So that's all from me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.